Prior to my husband being put on dialysis, I had minimal connection to it, but I did experience my mother going through dialysis. And kidney health has always been, in the back of my mind because we have such a high incidence of diabetes in community. And we've had lots of people end up on dialysis. So I can say it was minimal before my husband, but I'm trying to learn more about it now. My first experience, I guess, was with my mother. When her kidneys failed, it was just devastating for her. She didn't want to do it. Like, she just thought that it was the end of her life, right? And so, you know what, I basically left her to make the decision. But being the only child, it was hard for her to kind of think about leaving me behind so early. But she eventually tried it and she was okay. But I wasn't aware of everything that became involved in that journey. Now get to my husband, I was there every step of the way. And it was quite life-changing, I'm gonna say. Like, it really, I wasn't prepared for it. Like, everything from the point of being told that his kidneys have shut down to them putting the line in. And then just even that experience was traumatizing for me because he had some issues with it. And because of my husband and who he is, he was never one to just like sit still like you. He just loved life and just did everything. Every day he was active, and to have that happen was really, really quite sad. I felt really sad for him. Yeah, so and then we're slowly trying to adjust to that change in our lifestyle, I guess, but trying to be positive about it, I guess, at the same time. So yeah, it's been quite the journey so far. We have adult kids and they weren't sure how to approach him, you know. Um, and yeah, they would cry and stuff, but not in front of him. And they just thought, okay, this is the end. But I said, no, don't think like that. Like, every day is gonna be a gift, and every day is gonna be a chance for us to, be a family. We've talked about stopping dialysis. We've had many conversations about it, and at the beginning I was really upset about it. I would just cry and not be okay with it. But as I watched him, like I mentioned, it's hard for someone to go through that, especially considering him, like his life before and then his life now. Very drastic difference. So it's quite sad to see. At the beginning, in a certain way, he was trying to tell me, because he would just share his thoughts about, I don't know if I can do this, like it's going to be too difficult. He didn't outright come and say it right away, but I initiated the conversation with him because I knew he wanted to talk about it, but he wasn't quite sure how to approach me with it. And I'm gonna say I was upset, and trying to be selfish about keeping him here. But after, I think, the first 3 or 4 weeks, it was sad to see that he couldn't do everything that he was able to do before. His quality of life, I guess, was kind of impacted a lot by it. And for me, like, I just didn't want him to be in pain. I still don't want him to be in pain. And we kind of, talked about it a little bit. And I said, it was hard for me, but I said, I'll support whatever decision you make because I love you and I want you to, feel comfortable about your life. So we had the tough conversations about it. We tried to kind of tell our kids about it. They weren't having it either. But today I can say that they're thinking about, because they watched their father and how much how many challenges there are because of dialysis now. So for me personally, I hope he hangs in there for a little while longer. But if he ever makes the decision, like, I'll have to support him with that. The only thing I was afraid of is if it would be painful for him to go through that. And I was reading some information about it and it said they don't, like they don't go through. So that was my big fear. And but yeah, you know what? He'll tell me when he's had enough. I think it kind of made it a little bit easier for me to accept because I watched my mom struggle as well. So I kind of had that perspective in the background, and yeah, so I think it allowed me to become more supportive. And there's been other people in my life that I know have not gone on it and or either have stopped. But I just feel like, you know what, that's their decision and I can't ask them to suffer, you know. So yeah, it's changed my perspective. For me, it's about the long-term prognosis, I guess. Is there going to be an improvement in quality of life would be one of them. And you know, to some degree, I know it's not going to be the same, but if it's reasonable, then you know it's okay to keep going forward. But if it's going to seriously impair their quality of life, I think it would be very selfish just to ask someone to stay on it. I think there should be more information because I remember going with Rex to dialysis for the first couple times. I had someone come to visit me. I think it was a social worker, I'm going to say, but she came and gave me these binders with information. That was it. It would have been nice to have that information so I could ask questions because, you know, not everything is in the materials. So I think there should be like an opportunity for patients and their families to ask questions, like for them to take the time to sit there and answer them, you know, what would be helpful. Yeah, and then to just explain everything that's going to be happening because it was basically, you know what, you're going to go on dialysis, you're going tomorrow kind of thing. And I'm just like, whoa, like what does that mean? So yeah, they just didn't spend enough time talking about all of the implications. The diet too was a big thing for us because I was always on Google, even though I got the handbook for a kidney diet. But the other thing too is you have to remember we don't have access to grocery stores here. So we have to plan really like what can you buy ahead of time that we can keep at home. If we were in a city, it would be simple as running to a Sobeys to go get fresh produce every day if I had to, but we don't have that here. So that was a challenge. So I was always Googling, can he eat this? Can he drink this? So the nutrition part of it too is they need to spend more time talking to people about that. And what are good substitutes for diet because, you know, we eat different things. And we still like eat a lot of our traditional foods here, like wild game. And is that going to be okay? You know, there's so many questions about some of that stuff. It's like, what are some of the things that could happen to someone while they're on dialysis? Like, for example, infection in the line. What does that mean? Potassium's too high. What does that mean? You know, creatinine or whatever that chemical, what does that mean? Like, you know, you're just like fumbling around trying to find out what things mean. And they need to have those conversations in a way that we can understand what those mean. I know I was very grateful that Indigenous room. It really meant a lot for us to be able to take him there to go and smudge because we're so connected to that, like our home life. We start each day with a smudge, and not having that it kind of disrupted our routine a little bit. So I was very grateful that they allowed me to access that place too. So that was really important for us. Having a navigator specifically for renal patients would be a start because that would be someone they could relate to and someone that would have the time to sit there and discuss everything about it. And yeah, I think that would be a good start. You know, especially if people come from the north, there'd be a language barrier, there's cultural barriers, there's all kinds of things. Like it's a foreign world to many people. So I think having something to help them transition into that life-changing event would be good. Increasing the capacity of dedicated renal units in those places, but I understand that, the resources just aren't there. I'd like to see the health regions do a little bit more forecasting, because that would help us plan, not just for us in community, but for the health regions in general. The prevention part, it's unfortunate because our people really don't pay too much attention to that until it's too late. And me and Rex were talking about that. He said, if I could share my story to young people who still have a chance to, save themselves, I would tell them. Maybe they need to see it, he said. And I thought about that, and a lot of these kids say, oh yeah, they're on dialysis, but do they really know what that means? They don't think about it enough. So there should be a little bit more done in prevention, maybe, about that. Like to try and make people think about, getting more exercise, changing their diets, avoiding things that are harmful to the kidneys, like all that stuff, just to prevent them from ending up like someone that's on dialysis, right? So that would be good to see. But mind you, the other challenge to that is, like I said, our location. We don't have access to a lot of the healthy fruits and vegetables every day. Like, yeah, so that's a challenge. Giving more time to talk about everything. And then for caregivers, always have a positive outlook, no matter how terrible the day is going or how terrible the news is. Always try to keep a positive mindset. For me personally, I'm grateful for every day that my husband is here with me. And that's just my personal belief that we live life to the max, Just you gotta be realistic about everything, I guess. We talk in the mornings, between 6 and 8 is our talking time. And then we talk about how we're feeling about things. And, sometimes I just listen. Sometimes I just listen to him. And especially when he says, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, I don't know if I can live like this anymore, and I'll just listen. Yeah, because sometimes that's all you can do. I didn't take care of myself very well at the beginning because all I did was worry and lose sleep, thinking about the worst thing, you know. Um, I'm still adjusting to that, but my, I have such a deep love for my husband that I need to be there to support him. So many times I'll sacrifice lots of time just to help him. But now he's getting better at, doing things himself. But yeah, it's really hard at the beginning because you have worry, you have fatigue, like, and it's even worse if you're working full time because you have to learn how to balance everything, right? And it leaves me exhausted many times. And then I just, so thankful at the end of the day when I can lay down and go to bed and start again the next day refreshed. So yeah, and then but the other thing about it was I didn't really have anyone to talk to about anything. And I certainly didn't want to talk to my husband about how sad I felt because I didn't want to make him feel bad, right? But that was missing for me too. And I couldn't talk to my kids because I didn't want to put that worry on them. But I think that emotional support was a big factor for me, like not having someone to talk to about that. I'm getting better at it. I was really reluctant to talk about it because I didn't want to think about the worst, and I didn't want to feel like I was being selfish by feeling tired, You know, I may be tired, but at least I'm not the one on that. Like, I think I'd start thinking like that, but it was really important for me, and it was actually Rex who forced me to start go go do something for yourself. Like, go hang out with the girls for a while. Like, he must have recognized I was getting really tired, but yeah, we just have to adjust, you know, we just have to adjust in a way. For me, I don't find it so difficult because we live in a small house, like, and we have supports, you know, that are around us. So I'm very grateful that we have little extended family support. So yeah, but the thing is, you need to talk to somebody about what you're going through as well, because you know it impacts you as well as as a caregiver. Like, you need to look after your mental health, your emotional health. So that's very important. I don't know if there's support groups for caregivers, you know, but that would be something helpful. It's sad to watch my partner sad, but I try and do what I can to be as supportive as I can. But things like normal things that we've been able to do, it's just kind of hard. I would say learn to look after yourself, like, you know, and you can only do what you can do. Uh, don't overextend yourself. Like, you're not going to be good to anyone if you're burnt out or exhausted. So you have to learn how to balance your time being a caregiver.